Hi WordNerds, it is Wednesday night, March 19th, and I just got home from seeing the Divergent movie. Y'all, the Divergent movie is so good. Much better than I was even expecting. Also, Theo James. Oh my gosh. I know that I am supposed to be talking about publishing this week, but I got to thinking about it and thought about how tied in movie adaptations are to the publishing world. These days, it seems like a book deal automatically comes with a movie. The problem is, not all of those movie adaptations do as well as The Hunger Games or Harry Potter. We have a lot of flops out there, like Beautiful Creatures, or The Mortal Instruments, or even Percy Jackson, that just don't do as well as everyone expects. So as I watched the Divergent movie tonight, I was really noticing the things that it did well that it seems to have in common with other high-grossing YA movie adaptations. To start off, the source material itself makes a big difference. It's not enough for it to just be a book that's popular. I've noticed that a lot of the YA book-to-movies that do well start with a story that's believable or relatable in some way. I think this is why dystopian book-to-movie adaptations tend to do better than a lot of the supernatural, paranormal type things. Don't get me wrong, I love vampires and werewolves and demon hunters. I love the Mortal Instruments series. But a lot of people have trouble buying into that sort of thing or taking it seriously. Movies require a wider audience than books do to be popular. Another thing I've noticed, and maybe it's just the musical nerd in me, but soundtracks make such a big difference. Personally, I find that songs with words only belong in the soundtracks of romantic comedies. Don't get me wrong, I love those movies and I love those soundtracks, but it just doesn't really belong in a dystopian or a fantasy or anything like that. If you've seen the City of Bones movie, you know what I'm talking about. The greenhouse scene and the song that plays, it just makes it really cheesy and it doesn't fit in with the genre. Fantasy and sci-fi and adventure type things really need an instrumental score. And Hans Zimmer, the musical genius that he is, has made a beautiful score for Divergent. It is perfect for the setting and the story. What's also cool about it is that they did work in vocals by Ellie Goulding in a really good way. Her voice is there in the music, but there's not really any words, so it just adds to the atmosphere instead of distracting you and making it cheesy. Another thing I've noticed that makes a big difference is the balance between romance and action. I think some film directors get it into their head, YA books, teenage girls, cute boy, lots of romantic scenes and kissing. That's gonna sell well. But the good directors of YA movies realize that there's so much more that makes a young adult book popular, and they see the balance of all the different aspects and work it in. Once again, these books and their movies are not romantic comedies. They're fantasy or sci-fi or adventure, and they should be treated that way. Sure, there's romance there, and include it, but it shouldn't be overwhelming. When a YA movie focuses too much on the romance, it gets really sappy, really quick. If you've seen like Beautiful Creatures or even the City of Bones movie, they concentrate so much on the romance of the main characters that you forget what the story is. It also leads to some really cheesy lines that make you not able to take the rest of the movie seriously. Divergent does a great job of this. You really don't get that much romance between Triss and Four. Sure, it's there, and it's wonderful even when they hold hands. It makes you just sigh. But if you bring someone to the movie who's really not that into romance in movies, they'll be perfectly fine. They won't be bothered by it. It doesn't take over the rest of the story. Really, Triss's development and the story of her community is what takes the focus, not her romance with Four. It's really just something that happens along the way while the rest of the story is developing. Like I said, more of these movie directors need to realize what it is that draws people to the story, and that while yes, the romance is great and we love it, it's really not the thing that keeps us there. And that brings me to my last thing I've noticed, is that YA movies need directors who really understand the story and the fans. The young adult movie adaptations I've seen that have done well and that I've really enjoyed are ones that are still very true to the original essence of the story. It's not about keeping every detail or every fact accurate. I actually get bored when they do that. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, as an example. I mean, look at Hunger Games and Catching Fire. They've changed so much in how they tell the story, but it's the same story at the heart, and it's still telling you the same progression of Katniss's character and the same story of her world. You can tell that Neil Burger, or Berger, I'm not sure how to say his name, I like to think it's like a hamburger, but he directed the Divergent movie, and you can tell that he really understood what the heart of the story was. He understood the story that Veronica Roth was trying to tell, and the story that the fans fell in love with. And that is the story of a girl who's trying to figure out who and what she is, and a girl who has to face her fears to save the people she cares about. It's about a girl who's finding the balance between the different sides of her, between the brave and the selfless and the intelligent sides of her. And that's what the book's about, and it's also what the movie's about. Like I said, the romance is not the focus. Even the action and the story of dystopian Chicago is really not the focus. Triss is the focus. Her development, the decisions she's making, the person she's becoming, that's the focus, and that's where the focus should be. So what do you think makes a good YA book to movie adaptation? What are some bad ones you've seen, and what are some good ones you've seen, and what are some commonalities that you have found between them? Let me know in the comments, and if you go see the Divergent movie, let me know what you think, and we can talk about it. And I will see you this Sunday when the WordNerds will be live chatting about male characters in literature and how to write those, what makes a strong character, things like that. It'll be at 7:30 Eastern Time, which is our new time for live chats, and we can't wait to see you then.